Welcome in to the Undercovers podcast, along here with me and Connor. Ben had a scram today, so he couldn't make it today, which is fine. It's just be us two. Just kind of a review of Connor's takes, you could say. It's just me and Connor in a Undercovers go around. So
It's basically
today's
Connor's takes.
basically, yeah, it's just basically just us two hanging out twice a week this week. So you get the double dose of us this week because Connor's takes will happen later in the week as well. Some fun content later on this week. Also, remember, we also have a giveaway going on over on our Twitter. It's a so if you win the giveaway, you get the a jersey of whoever the Bills decide to select in the opening round. Whoever they take in the first round, that's the jersey of choosing for you. All you have to do is retweet it, subscribe to us on YouTube, and I think that was it for the rest of the rules. Uh,
Yeah, and get ready to have that Keon Coleman jersey on standby.
yes. So actually, it's follow us on Twitter, repost the tweet, and subscribe to us on YouTube. We have a hefty amount of people who already have. I think the count is up to about 30 people in the runnings for this one jersey. So if you want a chance, I mean, 30 people is a lot of people, but it still gives you a great chance to add another jersey to your jersey collection if you want another jersey. And you don't have to spend $129 on Fanatics on getting a new jersey. So we're doing that for you. So all you have to do is just go to our Twitter and just follow us, repost the giveaway thing, and subscribe to our YouTube. Let's get right into our show tonight. We're just really going to recap most of what we already know about the Bills offseason, kind of give you the lowdown of what has happened and what should we expect heading in heading toward the rest of the offseason. But let's start as we normally do with our quick takes. And let's start with this one. Who is the team that will decline in 2024?
Uh, wow, Paul, you're really giving me a Connor's takes like question here. Well, I can start with the obvious. The Denver Broncos. I don't really care who they draft at quarterback. That team is going to be bad with a capital B. As a matter of fact, all capital letters is probably a good argument for how bad the team is going to actually be. You trade away Jerry Judy and you're getting a fresh quarterback, probably in the draft, probably JJ McCarthy. We'll get to that in a little bit later too. But definitely the Broncos. I'm not sure actually. I feel like there's a lot more teams positioned for a rise in performance than a decline in performance, if you know what I mean. I think
Yeah.
Denver's definitely an obvious one that will regress, which hard not to regress on mediocre already. But um I don't know really. Oh, can we hope that the Chiefs regress? I mean, is that a thing? Can we do that? Let's do that.
We can hope the Chiefs could regress. I don't think they're going to regress, but if you think about a team that could regress, you know, maybe it's just the biased Bills fan in me. How about the Miami Dolphins?
I mean, you do have a point. And yeah, I hope you guys that are watching live like my attire because of April Fool's Day. I figured I'd go all in with this, but I think they'll actually stay about the same after the draft. They might get a little worse, but I don't see them like falling off the face of the earth, especially not if they draft JPJ round 1
True.
and then solve their defensive tackle issues in the second round. So Um, I think they won't be bad. I just don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. But they were 11-6 with all the injuries, and maybe next year they'll be a 10-7, 9-8 type team because the defense has taken such a hit and their offense has not really improved much. As a matter of fact, on the most important part of any offense, the offensive line, it's gotten significantly worse. So they'll regress. I just don't think post draft that it'll be enough for it to be like, oh yeah, we could label these guys like garbage tier now. I think they'll be a 9-win team that just barely makes the playoffs.
You know, I mean, you could say if they were an 11-win team last year, they lost almost every key piece on defense as you can imagine. Then their offensive line also losing some key pieces as well. You're kind of thinking that, an 11-win team that, even though they had injuries and whatnot, they lost almost everything on defense, their offensive line again. Going down to a 9-win team, I mean, seemingly that is a decline, right?
It's
Because even
decline,
though
yes. I just don't think it's going to be a like really sharp decline like a lot of people are thinking is going to happen. Losing all those pieces on the O line, everybody's like, "Oh man, this team is going to be absolute garbage." I don't think so. I learned a long time ago to never underestimate teams that, have the pieces. They just don't have all the pieces. But to be fair, in this league, does any team truly have all the pieces?
no,
The answer is no. But it's just a matter of who has the most pieces and who could sustain the most pieces.
definitely. I mean, you really have to think, kind of stretch the brain a little bit, just on this question is it's like who could decline? Because obviously there's still the draft to come, and we haven't actually seen what these guys look like in pads yet. But it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, if Joe Burrow was healthy last year and, they played say they were a 12-win team, well, could the Cincinnati Bengals be that team that you could say could decline? Because, you look at the Bengals, they really haven't done anything since the start of the offseason. They really haven't signed anyone or traded for anyone. So that's one area you could say, well, the Cincinnati Bengals could, but most of the year they were out Joe Burrow and they were just that average team fighting with everybody else in the AFC. My goodness, my voice.
But
Drink some
I
water,
mean, you're
Kyle.
not wrong. I mean, that's definitely one of the reasons why they finished how they did, and they still finished 9-8.
Right.
So that team is going to be dangerous going into next season with a healthy Joe Burrow and a revamped offensive line for Joe Burrow. I mean, that team could be really dangerous.
Oh, for
Probably a
sure.
threat to the Ravens in the AFC North because heaven forbid the other two teams in their division certainly aren't. I don't care what they say about Russell Wilson to the Steelers or Deshaun Watson coming back for the Browns. As a matter of fact, maybe there's your downgrade too. At least in the AFC North is the Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco played so much better than Deshaun Watson did in the latter half of the season. I mean, I know Deshaun was hurt, but Deshaun really hadn't been playing like all that anyway. So who knows?
Yeah, that
Maybe
could
they
be.
decline, and that'd be great if they did. If we're being completely honest.
Be great for the league, great for the NFL, great for us fans trying to get rid of the Cleveland Browns in that way. All
Haha.
right. The UFL started over the weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The numbers were okay for attendance wise. They were mediocre for fans attending games. Wasn't as it was a year ago. But do you think the UFL combining the XFL and the USFL could be a permanent summer league and maybe grow to a point where we have a minor league system in the NFL?
I would love that personally. I think a minor league system for the NFL would actually be really, really cool. And I think that there's so many opportunities that could be made available to the players in that league. I mean, look at what was that guy? I forget his name, the one that drilled that 64-yard kick to win
Ryan
the game for his
Bates.
team.
Bates? It was a
Hey,
Bates guy.
Buffalo, can we give Brandon Bead, get on the phone with this guy. Apparently, I heard that some teams in the league actually did call the guy after he made that kick.
Jake Bates, that's his name, Jake Bates.
Jake Bates? Yeah, because
Jake Bates.
I heard some things around that were saying that people in the league actually did call the guy in the NFL. I think that's a cool story, and imagine if, and I'm just throwing this out there hypothetically, say, you know, the unfortunate happens to a team's kicker, and the kicker is out for long term, and they have to sign a new kicker. Team goes, hey, Jake Bates is available, let's sign Jake Bates
True.
during the UFL offseason, and he winds up being one of the best kickers we've seen since Justin Tucker in this league, and takes said team to a Super Bowl. Heaven forbid the team is good.
Yeah, that would be a great story. Just just, you know, just round the UFL. I mean, to be to be real honest, that was his first kick since high school. I mean,
Hmm.
just imagine the pressure he's under. Even though it's under the UFL setting, 64-yard field goal to win the football game, and this is your first attempt since high school. Just
Hmm.
and
That's
for
so cool.
and he drained it. I mean, he didn't miss a step. He just walked up on there and just drained it, and they walked off for the win.
Hmm.
Which
So
leads to the
cool.
trivia question today.
Oh, trivia question. All right, hit me.
Here's a trivia. Who has the most field goals of 60 or more yards converted in an NFL career?
There's no
Who
way
is
this
it?
isn't. First, can we eliminate Justin Tucker? It's not Justin Tucker, is it?
Nope. No.
Okay, so it's not Justin
Eliminated.
Tucker. Okay, what team did he play for?
This guy, I believe, let me look up its name really quick.
Oh, you don't even know who it is, and you're prompted the trivia question? Come on,
No,
Paul.
I do know who it is. I just have to. He played for the Cowboys, and he's currently, when he got the record, he was with the Cowboys. He
Blech.
played with the Broncos the year prior, year after, and he's currently on the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh God, I've been following this team closely just because of, well, obviously Trey going to the Rams, but oh man, I just forgot his name. The only Rams kicker I can remember for the life of me is Greg Zuerlein, but he's with the Jets now. Ah, yeah, who is it, Paul? My brain is gonna draw a blank on this.
It is Brett Maher.
Brett Mock. I feel bad for not knowing, but now I remember him being one of the more inconsistent kickers with Dallas.
Yep.
It'd be because of Maher that they'd, you know, lose games. I don't really want to say anything bad about a certain kicker that belongs to us, because I know who will come for me if I do, but sometimes inconsistency isn't the best thing to have in a kicker, if you know what I mean.
It was an off year for Tyler Bass.
I love him. I still love him.
He will have a great year.
I hope so. I love Tyler Bass.
Sam. All right.
Oh my
Let's
god. By the way, really, really quickly, I did want to interject because I know it's very popular right now. The Iowa LSU game just
Oh yeah.
kicked off, Women's March Madness. Apparently, Caitlin Clark is already dominating the entire court. The game just started, apparently. All I'm seeing is
That
Caitlin Clark tweets everywhere right now, and I love it.
good.
I
That
know
should
this
be
is
a fun
great.
game.
I know this is already just amazing. But anyway, let's move on to the next point of discussion because we got a lot of good ones tonight. I know Ben would have been yelling about a few of them that we got coming up.
Oh, for sure. I think there's a lot of good points in discussion. Let's move into this. Bills off-season type discussion because that's what you're here for. You're not here for us talking UFL the rest of the night. My goodness, this voice. So let's think about this, right? The Bills offseason, you could say has mediocre. It's been pretty good. You know, they got rid of all the old players, bringing them, and then they're bringing in some newer players. Hasn't maybe been as aggressive as we thought it could be for the Buffalo Bills, but they still made some pretty big signings. I mean, notably, stealing the Mike Edwards from KC. They brought in Curtis Samuel. At this point, you could say it's kind of slipping under the NFL radar on how good this Buffalo Bills wide receiver court could be this year, and add in whoever they may take at receiver round one. Let's kind of divide
Ooh,
this into Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets for just a
ew,
quick minute
gross. Why would you subject me to this, Paul?
because it's a good question I'm about to throw at you.
All
Are
right,
the
throw it at
Bills
me then.
are the Bills currently playing in the weakest division of football in 2024?
No,
Because
because
if they're
the
playing
NFC
in
South exists.
true.
Absolutely not. We are going to be playing. I won't say a competitive like crazy division. Like, look at the AFC North. I think that'll probably be the most competitive division all year. AFC North, AFC South with, you know, dependencies. Are the Titans going to be good? Can the Colts take the next step with a healthy Anthony Richardson? And will the Jags recover from last season's epic collapse? I think the team to beat there's Houston. But in terms of the AFC East, the only thing I think Bills fans should be worried about is the Dolphins getting on a run to start the year, and that's it. If
Mm,
they're anything like what we've seen, they'll start off really well. They'll have everybody thinking, "Oh my God, this is finally the year it's going to happen." The Dolphins are going to win the AFC East for the first time in 16 years, and then everything falls apart with like 3 or 4 weeks left to go because they don't know how to sustain for the life of them. All that speed doesn't translate well into physicality. So, I think they'll be the biggest threat to the Bills in the AFC East. The Jets will be good, but your season hinges on Aaron Rodgers and his health again. He already came off of one Achilles injury. Is he really gonna You're really gonna subject him to the season like that? I mean, and then the Patriots, well, they're still rebuilding. But
yeah.
I don't remember who tweeted this, but it was a really good tweet, and I think it's very valid right now. Out of all 4 teams in the AFC East, one of them knows they have an active Super Bowl window as long as their quarterback is in his prime and are doing everything they can to surround him with talent. 2 of the teams in the AFC East realize they have a 1 to 2 year window and are trying to maximize their strengths and get as good as possible within that 1 to 2 year window before they eventually have to blow it all up and start over. And then one of those teams is just straight up in a rebuild, and I'm sure you could guess exactly what the order of those teams are.
Right.
So, um, I definitely think that we should be, a little wary of the 2 teams. Obviously, for those who didn't get what I meant, those 2 teams I mentioned that have the 1 to 2 year window, Dolphins and Jets. Obviously, we all know the Patriots are rebuilding. So, I think worrying about them is not doing us any good. What we need to do is just get ourselves better, play our own game, and have them play catch up, just like we have been for eons.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, you look at the Jets off season, let's compare just for a quick second Bills and Jets off season. I mean, you look at the whole AFC East, you could say the Bills and the Jets are currently having the best off seasons in the AFC East. Just those teams clearly are trying to play themselves into a potential spot where it's Bills Jets this season battling for the crown of the AFC East. And the Miami Dolphins, in a retool, but they're also going to still stay competitive enough.
Mhm.
And right now, still have the Bills up top, Dolphins, Jets. I don't think the Jets has done enough yet. I could, because they're more of a veteran team. They're not built through kind of like the Bills and Dolphins. They're not really built to the youth, and talent wise is completely different between the Jets and the Dolphins. You know, the
Mhm.
Jets, they have Aaron Rodgers and they have Brees Hall and and Garrett Wilson,
Two
but
really good young players.
right. But who else do they really have that, really strikes you? And, you look at their offensive line, yeah, they have Tyron Smith, but has he played a full season hasn't played a full season in a long time. They have a young center in Joe Titman. They have the pieces of the offensive line. They're just not constructed in a way to me to say this team should be a 10-win team because they don't have depth at the offensive line position, and they're riding with a 40-plus-year-old quarterback, you know,
Mhm.
who they hope turns into what Tampa did with Tom Brady, but Tom Brady was a different creature and a different
Yeah,
animal than
Tom
Aaron
Brady was just
Rodgers.
built different. I mean,
Right.
oh
Just
man. I'll have to give you the thoughts on a few other things toward the end of the show, but yeah, I think it's going to be a fairly interesting I think it'll be fairly interesting, especially, we've still got the draft left to see exactly what goes on. But for the moment, I definitely still say we are the team to beat in the division.
yeah, there's no question about it. All right. So let's grade the Bills off season. You know, on a scale of, A to F or, and a script and a letter grade scale, let's grade the Bills off season, with some of their moves that they've made, releasing players, signing players, in areas that you thought they should have went after but didn't, and they're still having with cap space remaining. Where do you grade the Bills offseason currently where it stands?
Ah, give me an A minus. I
Okay.
think I think mostly the reason that I say A minus is the fact that they were able to retain a lot of the great pieces, you know, Daquan Jones, uh, AJ Epinesa. We were able to retain all of those solid pieces on the defense. And then the Von Miller restructure was huge. And part of me believes that that's exactly why we were able to make the moves that we did. And then the signing of Curtis Samuel was nice, like really
Oh yeah.
nice. I feel like the signings that we've made have completely they've filled the holes, so to speak, on the team itself. So now we really don't have like a glaring need at any position to where we have to go in and be like, "Oh man, we got to do this immediately." I mean, wide receiver is still a need, safety is still a need, defensive tackle is still a need, offensive line is still a need, but there's no glaring need, if you know what I
True.
mean. So the only thing I don't like about the offseason was losing Mitch Morse, but that was more of a cap related thing anyway. I mean, how can you really be harsh on an off season where your team had no cap? Like,
True.
it's not like you had the Bears level of cap or even the Patriots level of cap and you did nothing. Now that would be an F. That would have been an F
True.
to a D at best. But considering the moves we've had to make and the things that we've done, solid A minus. And as for the team, which I have on my right now, my hat, my shirt, uh, that was a lot worse. I would have given them at least a B minus. They lost too
Yeah,
many pieces and didn't really replace the good ones.
there's the key. And I agree with you with the A minus. I'm sometimes a harsh grader, of my team, harsh criticism. I was going to give him a solid B, which is a letter grade down from an A minus. But I think the key word is replace. They replaced the players that they cut, right?
Mhm.
They got rid of the old and they brought in the new. Which was
Exactly.
and remember, this team at the start of the offseason had very little cap. They were about 40 under the cap, 40 over the cap, and they just Bean went into the checkbooks and he just did his wizardry. He just did it. And now the Bills now sit about 10 million under the cap and still have that Trey White stuff to kick in at June 1st. So the Bills will have at least, anywhere from 16 to 20 million to play with post June 1st to, sign all their 11 picks or even go sign a guy right now, Julian Blackman, somebody. I mean, if you look
That's
at
right. He
spot
is
track,
still
which
on the
I
free agent. He is still on the
right.
free agent market, isn't he?
Justin
Oh my
Simmons is
oh
still on
my
this free
god.
agent market. I mean, the Bills have options right now. They
Mhm.
brought there there's still a chance where before the start of the draft in about 3 weeks we
Oh, I
might
can't
be
wait.
on next week. Next week, we could be talking about Justin Simmons as a Buffalo Bill next week.
Oh,
We
please, that'd be
could
great.
because the Bills have that opportunity because they got rid of the players, that were key to this team, but they were just part of an old era, which we talked about a few weeks ago. It's where they were just part of an old era and they just needed a new spark. And here's Brandon Bean now, brought in Curtis Samuel, brought in Mike Edwards. And the Bills, they re-signed AJ Epinesa and Daquan Jones. A
My
solid A
goat,
minus.
AJ Epinesa.
I mean, a
You know how I
solid A
feel about him.
minus. You
Mhm.
know, where I would say I where my grade was a B is where kind of sits there hasn't been an impactful defensive signing. Like Mike Edwards,
Hey,
he will make an
do
impact.
not diss Mike Edwards. That was a great signing,
Right.
and
No,
I actually completely forgot about it.
I was still it
I'm
was
glad you brought it up because I nearly forgot all about it.
but if you look at, the whole defensive line, I don't think they've done enough to where I can say this defensive line was better than the one that we had last year, which struggled after week 8, you could say after week 10.
Mhm.
Just that defensive line wasn't the same in the second half of the season as it was in the first half of the season.
Injuries mounted too.
Right. True.
Oh,
And
man.
I don't think the Bills did enough there for me to feel comfortable heading into the offseason. Heading into the season, with this defensive line. Obviously, there's still the draft. There's still the draft, to stock up 2, 3 of them, to solidify their mark of a new era of the defensive line. That defensive line, mm, I don't I don't know if it's good enough to get pressure in the playoffs. I know I'm thinking playoffs and it's April, but like it, that defensive line, it was just it's just the same thing as last year. It just doesn't give me the bite where I could say this defensive line. could be that game-wrecking defensive line in a critical moment that it failed last year.
Yeah, I mean, injuries were a really rough timing on the injuries, Daquan
Yeah.
Jones and everybody else, and, I mean, that's the rough part, but I think as long as we can stay healthy on the defensive side of the ball, we'll have a nice solid shot to get further than we did last year, even with all
Mhm.
the injuries. So, anyway, quick interjection, LSU is right now ahead of Iowa in the game. Angel Reese is looking incredible right now. Like, Caitlin Clark is looking kinda cooked almost. Like,
Yeah.
Angel Reese just straight up snatched that chain. I'm just directly taking Jenna's tweet. Angel Reese just straight up had a huge steal and just ran it right to the basket over Caitlin Clark.
Oh, things are getting juicy over there.
Oh, yeah.
Something
LSU's got the lead right now, and they've just increased their lead. It's 29-26.
pretty
Admittedly, I
solid
really
game so far.
oh my god, Caitlin Clark with an insane turnover right there. Tried to make the pass, threw the ball right into Angel Reese's arms.
Jeez. All
That
right,
is
let's get
like
into
a that is
draft
like a
talk.
Tua Tagovailoa interception style right there. My god.
Something to look forward to after the show. I think that matchup, LSU Iowa, it's great matchup. I think great for the sport of women's basketball. You get Angel Reese versus uh Caitlin Clark, who is presumably going to be one of the should be a top pick in the 2025 NBA draft. She's going
No,
back to
it's
college.
no, no, no. She's declared for this NBA draft or WNBA draft.
Oh, so you got Caitlin Clark, you've got Paige, you got Cage Beckers out of UConn, and then you got that lady coming out of I forgot her name, out of Stanford.
Yeah, I can't remember her
That's
name
one,
right
two,
now
three
either.
right there. But let's get back. Speaking about the draft, let's talk about the Bills
Ooh,
because
yeah.
even though last week was a snoozer of a week, NFL news wise,
We
there
always
was
have
still
those
some
weeks.
hot. There's still this hot debate over what the Bills should do at 28. Should they be aggressive and hey, screw those picks and go get a guy like a Malik Neighbors or Roman Dunze, or sit back, relax, chill out, wait for an 80 Mitchell to come in your laps and you still have a stud. Or
Mhm.
let's be conservative here. Everyone else is gone. We're going to trade back out of the first round and we're going to get a guy like Keon Coleman, a Xavier Leggett type of player. How aggressive do you think the Bills should be coming into this draft?
It depends. You have to take into account, you know, who's gonna fall where. It's really just something that you have to take into account on the night of the draft, as teams make their picks initially, seeing who's on the board, seeing exactly the draft is a mental game as much as anything else, especially when it comes to the teams within your own division. You know, Miami is not in the wide receiver game, not in the wide receiver game, or at least they shouldn't be in round one, but you always have to be prepared. It wouldn't be beyond them to try to get a wide receiver like Brian Thomas Jr. in round one. And if you think that they are kind of leaning that way, then you've got to try to figure a trade up because they're going to get your guy. And the last thing you want to do is reach for someone because a rival of yours got the guy early. My reference point, the Houston Texans a few years ago with Titus Howard. Philadelphia got the guy that Houston wanted. Houston panicked, traded up, and reached for a guy at the same position that they probably could have gotten in later rounds.
Yeah,
So
you know,
that's
the
you know,
Bills.
it could be it ugh, no words, honestly, because there's just so many options we could take. As a matter of fact, y'all stay tuned. I'm going to be releasing a series of articles at my usual handle at the Florida Man 17, detailing everyone that the Bills could pick. Obviously, not Malik Neighbors or Romo Dunze, even though I wish, but I'll probably be releasing them, as when I can get around to it. And it'll be detailing, every pro and con of who I think will be, a good wide receiver or a good, even defensive prospects, because we have to keep that in mind. And maybe I'll go a little crazy, give you some fire takes like I usually do on some other positions that the Bills should consider. Obviously, I feel like the only positions that the Bills don't need to consider for the draft, at least in round one, is quarterback, kicker, and punter. That's it. And long snapper. That's it.
Everything
I
else
feel
is
like
free
you've
game.
got a case for every other. I feel like you've got a case for every other position.
Oh, for sure. You know, Brandon Bean gets antsy. Even admits it. He gets antsy. You know, if AD Mitchell has been gone anywhere from 20 to 28, Brian Thomas Jr. has been on everyone's radars. He's probably anywhere from 15 to 28. You know,
Hmm.
most mocks have him going in that 15 to 18 range. The last couple mocks I've done, he's been falling to 28. So his range is anywhere from 15 to 28. If Bean really feels Brian Thomas Jr. or AD Mitchell is his guy that he wants, and one of them say Brian Thomas Jr. is off the board. Say he went to 18. That's whoever that is at 18. Say AD Mitchell is being thought about with teams anywhere from 20 to 25, and the Bills are sitting at 28, and he has to get into that range. And AD Mitchell is the dude he wants, and he doesn't want to sit back and wait anymore. And as the picks go on, Brandon Beane's going to make a call, and he's going to get it done because that's the guy he wants. And I think that's the aggressiveness we're going to see from Brandon Bean on on draft night. I don't think he's going to be overly aggressive and make a panic move and try to go reach for
Hmm.
a guy in the top 10. I don't think
Exactly.
he's going I don't think he's that, you know, that sure-minded that he wants, a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Dunze. Sure, would making that Julio Jones type of trade, you know, work for us fans? Cool. That would work. I would love if Brandon Bean decide to go from 28 to 8 and pick Rome Dunze. What if Rome Dunze is not there at 8? You really have to make sure because that's a risk. If you're going to be aggressive, you have to remember the risk you're taking with that aggression. Because if you be that aggressive and the risk doesn't work, you got rid of all those picks that you could have used. Now they're gone, and you have to go get somebody you're either trading out of that spot again, or you're getting somebody that you really didn't want in the first place at that
Yeah.
position. So Brandon
Brings me
Bean
back to the
plays
Tytus
these
Howard
mind
situation.
games. Right.
Hmm.
Brandon Bean plays these mind games with GMs. You know, he's he's not that standstill GM where he's gonna sit and wait and 28's the pick. That's the pick I'm gonna make. He's making calls probably all night thinking about potential trade up situations. And I think that probably gets into the mind of some of these other GMs is that, well, there's Buffalo who's perking at the door almost all night, and we can't let Buffalo jump us, kind of like the Dalton Kincaid situation last year. Dallas probably knew Brandon Bean was going to make a move, and they really didn't do much. And they got Dalton Kincaid. They got hopped for Dalton Kincaid. Dallas wanted him, and they didn't get him because Brandon Bean knew
Uh
how to
oh.
play those games.
Hmm.
You
Big
know,
news. Big news, really quickly. Looks like Angel Reese might be hurt.
oh
She
jeez,
just absolutely took a shot right there. She just fell into the stands trying to guard Caitlin Clark. She looks hurt. I hope she's okay. Looks like something might be up with her ankle, maybe. Man,
Probably a
that's rough.
slight sprain.
You
She'll be
know,
back.
yeah, I hope she's okay because man, that she just fouled, Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin just missed her first free throw. You know what? Speak of the draft, though, I kind of want to bring up the Buffalo Fanatics article that just got released earlier today. How all the writers are doing their mock drafts. They just released the round forward. Zach just published it because thanks NFL, we don't have a third round pick because of you. And so here, I want to propose this one to you, Paul. Out of all the writers' picks, who do you think is the best fourth round pick out of all of them? And I'll go through them one at a time here for you really quickly, okay?
Okay.
So Jenna went with Cole Bishop. Bryce went with McKinley Jackson. And I believe he actually, hold on, let me make sure. We have oh, yeah, that's right. We have two fourth round picks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jenna traded up to get Cole Bishop. So she only had one pick. Bryce went with McKinley Jackson and Ray Davis. Yeston went with he traded up as well to get Luke McCaffrey and apparently okay, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Andrea went with Kalen Carson and Luke McCaffrey. Thydok went with Marshawn Nealand, and then Zach went with Tanner Bortolini, the interior offensive lineman from Wisconsin, and traded one of his other picks. Who do you think nailed that fourth round? And don't be and who do you think? Who do you think? There's so
I'm
many
going to
good
be honest
options.
with you. I think that Borderlini pickup is great.
Mhm,
Solidifies more depth at the offensive line position, and he's great. He's a great dude. I believe he played at Wisconsin, and great overall guy. If you're going to draft a offensive lineman, draft in the Big Ten because Big Ten football is all about the offensive line. So you're going to go Bortolini, for one of your first fourth round picks. That is completely allowable. I mean, I just completely butchered that sentence, but hey, but if you look at it, Bortolini just again, the Bills might not need a offensive lineman at all in this draft. They might not even need it, but depth at the position is always good because you got Josh Allen to protect. Because
exactly.
if the offensive line is bad, Josh Allen isn't going to look as good, and the receivers, and they won't be talking about the receivers and the drops, and they can't get open. Well, they can't get open if the offensive line can't protect and give Josh Allen some time. So,
Mhm.
always good depth at the offensive line position is great. I don't like the idea, though, of trading your other fourth round pick for what? More fifths and sixths? Not a fan of that.
He
But
traded so if you want the full details, Zach traded for the fourth and then the final seventh rounder for a fifth and a sixth. So overall, not really bad in terms of value. I wouldn't
it's
be
not
too opposed
terrible.
with that because a seventh round pick is a seventh round pick. You never know who you're going to get in
True.
the seventh round.
I mean, you could
So
find that diamond in the rough. But if I'm
always,
really gonna be honest with you, I like the idea of trading up for Cole Bishop.
I do too. I
Say
think Cole
the
Bishop will probably
Bills
be there by that time too. Maybe.
he should be. I mean, he's anywhere from mid-second round to the 4th round, so his range is very is
Hmm.
very sporadic at the moment. As we get closer to draft night, we'll probably have a solid idea of where Cole Bishop might be. But if he's
Oh
in the
yeah.
range of any of the Bills' spots, I think the Bills are going to get him. I like the idea of trading up for him because you don't want to miss out on a guy that who is a really really good safety. I think it's probably
Mhm.
one of the better safeties in this draft. There's Tyler Nubin. People are talking about him. I mean, I don't really think he's that athletic enough to where I could say, "Hey, go get a guy like a Tyler Newman." But then there's Cooper DeJean who can play cornerback and safety. You get that versatile type of guy. I think he goes in the first round, so he's not going to be there for the Bills at all in this draft. So you get a guy like Cole Bishop, who who's going to be that guy who's going to be your starting safety. He might but
Mhm.
not be your starting safety day one because you got Mike Edwards and Taylor Rapp. But if Mike Edwards decides to leave in free agency next offseason, Cole Bishop slots right into that starting safety position uh, of Mike Edwards or Taylor Rapp. Either one would work for him. And I think getting the guy of the future for the safety position and also add some extra depth there at the safety position where the Bills need. I believe they only have four safeties on the active roster at the moment. So the Bills are going to have to attack safety, depth at safety in this draft. So I think Cole Bishop, trading up for Cole Bishop is a steal. Just go up and get him, get the guy for the future. I like both of those options. If I'm going to side more, it's probably trading up for Cole Bishop because I think the offensive line is set for right now. And
Mhm.
in this offensive line, uh class is super deep. I mean, the Michigan guys, offensive linemen, are falling into the fifth and sixth round on all mock drafts. There's a guy from South Dakota State that probably will be there in the fifth or sixth round. So I think the
Mhm.
Bills will have options at offensive line, obviously in the interior offensive line later in the draft.
Oh,
Focus
yeah.
on your future at safety position early in the first, 4 rounds. Obviously, the Bills don't have a third. So you get a guy like Cole Bishop. If he's there in the fourth round, you for sure go up, snatch him before anyone
Mhm.
else can get him,
Yeah,
because I think that would be super important for the Buffalo Bills in their
totally agree.
building their backfield.
So are you telling me you like Jenna's 4th round pick the most out of everybody's?
Yeah, for
Alrighty.
sure.
Well, I was gonna say don't be biased and pick Jenna because I know she's part of the show, but
I mean, it's not
I
biased because
I know
it's
it's
a
actually a really good choice, especially if
it's
he's there. You'll have to play the mind game with Miami. They want him too.
well,
So,
here's the thing. You have to think with drafting, trading, free agency signings. Literally have to take your brain out of fan mode and think as if you were Brandon Bean, because Brandon Bean's mind is different than every other GM in the NFL. You really have to think deep and hard on where the Bills might go because Brandon Bean is super unpredictable and he can do anything because he knows how. I mean, I want to call him he's a manipulative GM because he just knows his way. He just knows the way
mhm,
of the business. He knows how to get what he wants. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. He knows how to get him. Even if it's for cheap, even if it's for less. I don't know what the conversations are like with Brandon Bean on the phone, but if Brandon Bean wants a guy, he's going to get his guy. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care what it costs to get him because he's going to get him either for cheap
mhm,
or for the right deal, and we see it almost every offseason. So I think that trade up, because I think Brandon Bean wants Cole Bishop because he knows he needs depth back there.
mhm.
If he's there in the fourth round, or even trade up for him in the third round, might cost a little bit more. But hey, Cole Bishop is going to be your starting safety for the next 10 years if you draft
Very
him.
well could be. Yep. I mean, I love the idea too. It's just a matter of does Bean have a first round grade on Cooper DeJean or not? But I don't think that that'll be a pick that we make in the first round. It's a possibility. I've heard plenty of things around Cooper DeJean and him possibly being a pick for the Bills. But I think that there's too many other positions that we need to take, you know, a priority on in round one over safety because I'd much rather have Cooper DeJean or literally anybody than Cameron Kinchins. Anybody's still
Oh,
taking
yeah.
him. I just have to stop for a minute whenever I see people taking Cam Kinchins, and I'm just like, okay, listen. This is why you don't take Cam Kinchins. That might be a whole thing for the next episode of Connor's Takes, to be honest. Why we should not take Cam Kinchins and why, if we wind up with Kinchins, why we should just be disappointed. But that's something for later.
Let's get into a quarterback debate for the final segment of this show of the NFL draft. The debate
Hey, none
here.
better than Josh Allen, and you know it.
Josh Allen's the GOAT.
That's
JJ
my go.
McCarthy.
Oh
I
no.
mean, he's going anywhere, it seems now, from anywhere from 2 to 10. That reach at 2 to maybe that area of being picked at 10. But in most minds, is he really a first round pick? Is he really the quarterback that feels that he should be the glorified first round pick? Because you
What do you
think
mean by
about it,
glorified?
like the guy that a team really wants, right?
No.
JJ McCarthy, is he the guy that you really think
No.
if he could start right now, if he's drafted right now, he's starting day one and he's going to be that quarterback that you think could start for the next 10 years for a franchise?
No. What do you want,
No.
another Zach Wilson in this league? If you force JJ McCarthy to start immediately, I think you're doomed already. And
Yeah,
it's another thing about the situation that he'd be in. So who do we think would actually draft him? There was a whole rumor that the Washington Commanders would take him with pick 2, and if they did that, they should just sell the team right then and there and fire the GM. I know they got new owners, I don't care, sell the team anyway. That would just be a disaster. I also hear the Patriots are interested in JJ McCarthy. Please, for the love of God, do that and set your franchise back another 20 years. It'd be just enough payment for all the pain that Tom Brady put us through for all those years. JJ McCarthy in the top 10 would just be an absolutely horrible reach. Like,
it would be.
horrible, insane reach. And I've seen him go into the top 10 in a couple of mock drafts. And I'm just like, what? I saw one where the Jets took him at 10. And I'm just like, what? Are you
Right.
serious right now? Why would they take JJ McCarthy when you have, like, if you're trying to think about a future after Aaron Rodgers, you got more drafts to do that. JJ McCarthy will be a Viking or a Bronco. And even then, I don't think
I
either one of those two teams are going to have him start immediately. I just can't see it.
no. You know, it would we talked earlier in the year, there was Bo Nix, the possibility of Bo Nix being a first round pick, Broncos, you Jets, those teams, Patriots, early on when the season concluded, you're talking, end of February, March, you're thinking, yeah, Bo Nix could be that guy, and then he kind of falls out, right? Kind of falls out. He kind of is filtered out with the rest of the other quarterbacks later in the draft. JJ McCarthy, I don't know if it's because Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, and they could possibly, they're linking him to a possible joining Jim Harbaugh and with the Chargers, or it's just the fact that he's a good quarterback. I don't know what's the why
Ooh,
yes, he's
you know
super
what?
athletic.
You just made me think of something, Paul. Did you hear the rumor that there was a team that did not need a quarterback in the draft that was secretly fawning over JJ McCarthy? Did you hear about that? You want to
What's
know?
the
I'm
rumor?
telling you. Wait, what?
Was it the Commanders?
No. No, they need a quarterback. No, this team does not need a quarterback. Yet they're out here fawning over JJ McCarthy anyway. It was a rumor that nobody knows the legitimacy of. And I mean, hey, it's April Fools. Great day to talk about rumors, right? So
Give me
I'm
the
telling
rumor.
you, I
I
thought
don't
it was
think
the
I've heard of this one.
I think it's the Chargers
Oh,
because
okay. Then I must have heard of it then, because the
yeah,
Chargers
because
are all over.
yeah, the Chargers don't need a quarterback because they've got Justin Herbert, But Jim Harbaugh coached JJ McCarthy in the national championship. Yeah, I'm going to say it in a game FSU should have been playing in, but either way, I think it would be hilarious. We need some chaos on draft night and we need a stupid move to be made. I would love to see the Chargers just waste a first rounder on JJ McCarthy. That would
They
be
don't need it
hilarious.
though.
They don't, but but freaking Jim Harbaugh is like,
Just
"Man, I
imagine the
love my quarterback."
just imagine the conversations of the offseason. I mean, will JJ McCarthy replace Justin Herbert, who is supposed to be their franchise quarterback? Yes, Jim Harbaugh didn't draft Justin Herbert. But Justin Herbert, you put a good team around him, and you finally give him an offensive line that he hasn't had since
Mhm.
being drafted in LA. Yeah, he's going to be the Oregon quarterback that was really good. And he could be that guy for the Los Angeles Chargers. Jim
Mhm.
Harbaugh just taking his quarterback that he coached at Michigan doesn't fit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think JJ McCarthy is a first round pick.
No,
I
I don't
think
think
he's
so. I think that it would definitely be
if there's
uh,
going to be a
uh,
surprise in the
mm,
first round
yeah,
after the
someone
draft has concluded,
ooh, actually,
is
Paul,
JJ
no,
McCarthy not going first round.
I got it, I got it. No, 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 I won't say that. I think there's still too many quarterback needy teams that'll probably jump for JJ McCarthy, but this was done in a mock draft that I did a while back. The Patriots drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3, traded back up into the first round at, like, pick 29 or 30 and took Bo Nix.
Okay.
That was an interesting move, and if I would not be disappointed, truth be told, if I was a Patriots fan and they did that because you have Marvin Harrison Jr. and a young quarterback to give him the ball. And you have Jacoby Brissett to start immediately to give the quarterback, whoever it is, some time to kind of meld and get ready. So I think it's interesting. And we'll be in for some surprises on draft night. I'm sure of it. I just need
Yeah.
one stupid move because we haven't seen a truly stupid move by a team since the Giants took Daniel Jones a few years ago. We need a
So
really stupid move that gets everybody laughing.
so JJ McCarthy, you know, it just surprises me that he's still a quarterback that everyone wants right now. You know, granted, you know, granted or not, granted, yes, JJ McCarthy could be the diamond in the rough for say. But, look at PFF for a quick second. Just
Uh-oh.
positional rankings. He's ranked 29th. And people are talking about JJ McCarthy as he should be a top 10 pick. Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., who you could say arguably were better than JJ McCarthy last year in college, who statistically and just overall could just be better quarterbacks than JJ McCarthy. They're talking about those two guys possibly, not even being in the first round, if not their second rounders to third round picks. Like JJ McCarthy should be in that conversation of second round to third round pick, possibly fourth round pick because granted he's a good quarterback. Will he be a great quarterback? I don't know.
That
They're talking
uh, another Tua is what it sounds like you're saying. A
he's not
good
going
quarterback, but not a great quarterback.
I'm thinking of Brock Purdy for him. That's his ceiling right now. I think his ceiling is Brock Purdy and his floor is Zach Wilson. He's either just
Ooh.
going to be a good quarter. Either going to be a good quarterback, or he's going to
Paul.
be Zach Wilson, who was the super hyped up quarterback
Mhm.
and just failed.
Wow, I thought I was the one that delivered the fire takes, not you. God, that's a good one.
Just think about it. You know, he wasn't. He's a system quarterback. He's only will fit in a system that's built for him. You have to build a system around him. He's not going to be the guy that's going to win you a football game. Could he? Yes. But you look at what he had at Michigan, he had
Mhm.
Blake Corum and a great offensive line, and
Yeah.
he had some sizable good receivers, Roman Wilson leading the way. You looking at Brock Purdy, he has Christian McCaffrey and almost every weapon known to mankind in a great offensive line. That's the system JJ McCarthy fits in. I don't think that's any of the systems in the top 10 that would fit. Possibly, I think that team could be, if you want to look top 10, that's either Atlanta, but Atlanta has Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah.
Then
They
there's
don't
then
need.
there's New York. That could fit a JJ McCarthy, but a JJ McCarthy does fit a Broncos system with Sean Payton, who's probably going to be a run-oriented team. That's why he's
They should
listed
be.
to a Kevin O'Connell and a Sean Payton because they're probably going to be run first, add some weapons. That
Mhm.
fits JJ McCarthy because he's
Absolutely.
just going to be that system quarterback. He's not going to be that quarterback that's going to win you a football game like Caleb Williams probably would be, or
Well,
a
hey,
Drake May.
that's gonna be an interesting team to watch. The Bears, I like what they're doing right now, and when they get Caleb Williams, get some more offensive pieces, man, they will be fun. I think the NFC North as a whole, well, the Lions, the Lions, Bears, and Packers will be fun teams to watch.
For sure.
But
All right.
anyway, I believe that's all we've got for this live showing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And tune in next time for another special edition of Connor's Takes. We'll be going and recording that on Wednesday. Maybe we'll go live if circumstances permit. I do have some very interesting ideas for not just Paul, but everybody watching that show. And just another huge bit of news. So, right now, Iowa and LSU are tied at the half, and this game is getting good. Like, Caitlin Clark is becoming Caitlin Clark that we know her to be, and I'm getting very excited. So, y'all go have fun watching that after you watched us. Thank you all for watching as well. No matter where you're watching on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever that may be. Don't forget about our giveaway. I will be so hyped to see the winner get that Keon Coleman jersey because you know it's going to happen. And um, one more thing, rest in peace to Vontae Davis. That was some
Yeah.
incredibly sad news. I really hated hearing that. And it's just quite the shame, gone way too soon. So with that
We might
though,
be doing our first live mock draft next week. So if you're watching
yeah.
this, we're planning on a 3-round mock draft next week.
Mhm.
We're hoping that's the episode we start mock drafts for the next couple of weeks. We're hoping that's the case. Just like last year, we're getting as we get closer and closer to the draft night, we're giving you our thoughts. We're going through mock drafts live here on this show. So come in, chat with us, give us all your fire takes in the comments.
Oh yeah.
If you hate one of Connor's picks, go for it. And remember, all my picks are the best picks because I just know what I'm doing. So just remember that for next week.
Yeah, because I need somebody to come at me for my takes, and plenty of people do it, but I need more people to come at me for them. So anyway, that's all the time we got for tonight, and we'll leave you on the Go Bills.
Go Bills.